Chapter 5. She stepped through the rainbow gate onto a flat stone in the middle of a stream. The water split spray into a million rainbows, blinding her so that she had to squint to see the stepping stones that took her to the bank and dry land. Once out of danger from the rushing water, Mylita was attacked by heat and light, blazing at her from a fireball in the blue overhead. Sun, she thought. Sky. Trying not to panic, she recited book words to match the world beyond the citadel. Then she was attacked from the ground, green spikes prickling her legs. Tiny things with legs. Grass. Insects. The words could not protect her from the assault on all her senses, and the instinct to run took over. It was too much. She ran away from the dazzle, towards shade, towards things that made shade. Trees. Beneath a tree, Mylita took her quiver from her shoulder and doubled up, panting, her heart racing as if after a training bout. As soon as the stitch had passed, she hooked the quiver to her belt, nocked an arrow, waited. If Janlu and the others came through the gate, she would be ready. No doubt he'd have the password or could get it from his father if he wanted. Reassured by the familiar feel of her bow, she watched, tracing the route taken by the stream. The water burbled across a pebble bed through the grassland she had crossed to the citadel wall, where it seemed to disappear. No gate was apparent, but it was a relief to Mylita that the citadel was visible from this side of the wall, as was the bubble above it. The canopy that the rebel Councillor Crimver spoke of, no doubt, protecting the citadel inhabitants from the sun, or from any other wildness in the sky. Mylita racked her book memories. Snow, rain, hail, desert dust. She shivered, despite the heat. It had been folly to leave the citadel. She must get back inside and cover up her transgression. A stripe of sunshine reached her arm through the canopy of trees. A different, less effective canopy. The shadows were moving, growing shorter, which must mean that time had passed, with no sign of her aggressors. Oh, she should go back. She unnocked her bow, slung it over her shoulder, braced herself, and stepped into the fierce heat again. This time she was ready for the uncontrolled warmth playing on her skin, tickling. She laughed. Oh, she need not fear the sun. She made her way back to the stream, listening to the music of water on pebbles, a song she had never heard. She sat down to listen better on a comfortably rounded rock, safely above the prickle of grass blades. This was a song like book poetry, not like the schoolroom songs which praised the citadel and promoted good citizenship, with a side nod to hygiene and reproduction. Her exertions in the heat had made her thirsty, and, in defiance of the schoolroom songs, she scooped up a handful of unpurified water, losing trickles between her fingers as she drank. As she sipped, she paused to marvel and drank again. Bubbles burst on her tongue like a liquid giggle. Then the water told its history, from snow-capped mountains, through forests and meandering pasture, to this small diversion from a mighty river. The water told its geology, from glacial tarns through limestone pavements and hard bedrock, picking up a tang of calcite or magnesium, a glitter of gold en route. Then the water told its wildlife, silver-scaled fish, seething jellies of tadpoles and slithers of eels. This and more Mylita could taste in her scoop of water as she watched a turquoise glitter of tiny wings over the water. Dragonfly. She wanted these pleasures again, but when she scooped and tasted a second time, the story was different. How could that be? Did one change of pebble, one shadow over the sun, change the taste of water? It must be so. The sadness of change, of death, and the glory of a new adventure in 2 scoops of water. Oh, she should go back. But she was already outside the citadel. The sun was not to be feared. The stream was shallower than she'd thought. Grass blades did not pierce her skin. The forest could be named, and it was just trees. She'd stood beside one and felt no harm. She should at least explore a little while she was here. She could go back later, when she could be sure it was safe. Maybe Janlu and Bastian were just inside the gate, waiting for her as she had waited for them. Let them wait. Mylita marched back across the grass to her first tree. She studied the bark, its vertical furrows. She knew this wood from the citadel fires, but now she saw it alive for the first time. In the citadel it burned fast and erratic. Did it live that way too? The leaves all followed the same form, edged with tiny teeth, curving to a curly point. The same type, but each one different. Mage-made objects were not like this. She ran her tongue along a leaf. Oh, she didn't like the taste. She tore a tiny strip of bark in her fingernail, chewed on its bitterness, and felt her mouth frothy. How did you know what you could eat in the forest? The next tree was different in kind. The forest offered Mylita as many different trees as the stream had offered scoops of water. She felt dizzy with infinite opportunities. Oh, too much, she told herself again. If she were not to spend her lifetime studying 3 trees, she must block her senses, gain a broader impression of life outside the citadel. She forced herself to walk more quickly, deeper into the forest, ignoring the distraction of trees. Eyes were more difficult to ignore. Blinking, flashing, hiding, gone before she could say, bird, fox, rabbit. Knowing only words and pictures, she could only guess that strong stink was fox, and the branch rustling was bird. Oh, what if something wanted to eat her? Even if she moved quietly, as she had learned, her banana scent must be alien to forest creatures. Oh, and she drenched herself in it. She shrugged. Human scent would be as alien as bananas, or worse. The parties of men who chopped firewood here must have smelled human, and their acts would not have endeared men to the forest. The shadows seemed to grow darker, the trees taller, the canopy thicker. Too dark. She turned towards a part of the forest where more light broke through the branches above, and was relieved to reach a clearing. Filtered by the high leaves, the sun striped the glade with green and gold, patterning bark with shadows and limning branches in halos. Mylita felt the ground vibrating gently, like a giant snore, a sense of rightness. She sniffed the air, but found only the scents of composting earth, resin and roots, to which the forest had already accustomed her. No eyes, or at least none she noticed. On the opposite side of the clearing, a covered box was attached to a tree, the lid at Mylita's shoulder height. Its shape was fuzzy in an ever-changing black cloud, and for a moment Mylita felt her citadel-bred fears return. She wouldn't have felt the sun, tasted the water, or met her first tree if she believed all she'd been told as a child. There were many ways to become mature, and this would be her ceremony, in the forest. Even if nobody else knew, from today onwards she would be an adult, a new woman. She tucked a strand of hair back under its snood. Breeze, she thought. The air smacked her cheek. No, wind, she corrected, as her banana scent was whipped into her nostrils. She stepped into the clearing and heard the box hum. A happy, wordless work song that matched the vibration underfoot. Like the thrum of an arrow shot true but sustained, no beginning and no end. She approached the box and could see now that the black cloud was made up of insects. Oh, so many! Flying into and out of the box, humming. Was the humming inside the box louder? She thought it might be. What did they do inside the box that gave them this sense of purpose? She could feel it in the air, in the ground, in the trees. Purposeful humming. She would just open the lid and peek inside. Then she must go back to Citadel before she was too late for the evening meal. She reached out and lifted the lid off the box. She had time to see wax patterns and insects rushing upwards in the box before the insect's rage hit her in a roar that hurt her ears. Then the arrows hit her from below as the insects swarmed and flew at her rank on rank. From above, too, as the black cloud outside the box fired at her through the snood. She started to run, but the cloud stayed with her, surrounded her as her tired legs swelled, her head caught fire, and she sank to the ground under a tree in the darkest part of the forest, burning. She shook, sweated, felt the fire spread throughout her body like poison. Bees, she thought, and she died.